Now, if you thought this video was going to be exclusively about the leather jacket, khaki trousers, satchels, and bullwhips, you're wrong. You see, most people might think that the Indiana persona of the character is the most interesting thing about him. And I will admit, it is certainly the most exciting aspect of the character. But to me personally, the most interesting quality was this dual nature of the character. We have the refined professor on one side, and then the rugged adventurer on the other. Yes, there's no denying it. The leather jacket, the brown fedora, unmistakable as a silhouette. Everybody looks at that and thinks Indiana Jones. But Dr. Jones has other, more refined looks throughout the films that most people gloss over. So let's go through them from most casual to most formal. During his adventures in Temple of Doom, Indy unexpectedly finds himself a dinner guest at the Maharaja's palace in Pankot. Now this is quite a formal affair, and Jones is almost caught out in his usual adventurer's attire. Now fortunately, his wardrobe is surprisingly interchangeable. You see, he naturally gravitates towards earthy tones all across his wardrobe, meaning that many of the individual pieces can be mixed and matched depending on the formality of the situation. Now he does have some limitations here. He is stuck with the khaki safari shirt and the brown trousers, but by buttoning up the shirt, adding a bow tie, throwing on a tweed sports jacket, and putting on his signature professorial glasses, he manages to assemble something pretty decent in a pinch, and it works because it should work. This is a sports jacket, okay? It's not a suit jacket, and you should know the difference between those two things. A sports jacket is designed to be worn with odd trousers, okay? So it's inherently more casual. The patch pockets stitched onto the outside of the jacket bring the formality down another notch, letting the whole ensemble harmonize instead of clash. If, for example, he had tried a double-breasted suit jacket with the rest of that outfit, it would have looked completely off. The formality gap between the jacket and the rest of the pieces would have been too large, and the outfit would fall apart. Here though, in this example, Indy gets away with it just about, thanks to his consistent colour palette and the inherently versatile nature of well-chosen staples. In the third entry of the film series, The Last Crusade, we see Indy in a taupe two-piece suit paired with a pale blue shirt and a burgundy patterned tie. Now this is noticeably lighter in tone and less formal than his darker three-piece ensembles that we'll talk about shortly in Raiders, and that is intentional, okay? The absence of a waistcoat lowers the formality, but so does the fabric. This looks more like a lightweight cotton or a cotton blend rather than the heavier tweeds he wears on the university campuses. Now given that he's in Venice, the choice makes perfect sense. It's far better suited to the warmer climate because cotton fibers allow air to pass through easily, okay? In other words, it's a more breathable fabric than tweed, which tends to be more of a dense wool that traps heat. Also, the single-breasted cut keeps the silhouette refined yet easygoing, making it ideal for travel and informal academic meetings abroad. This is probably the most easy look to replicate in maybe a job meeting you're going to, an interview, or an academic conference. It's timeless. Now in the first teaching scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark, we see Indy in his classic academic guise, a brown three-piece suit paired with a cream shirt and a patterned tie. The suit itself is a brown barleycorn tweed, a material that is sturdy and textured, and it gives him a real scholarly presence while remaining quite durable. Now later on in another scene, we actually observe that the jacket has small pleats at the back, which is great for freedom of movement in the arms. Quite a practical detail for the kind of man who spends half his time in fistfights and on adventures. Once again, if we look at the front, we see patch pockets on the jacket, okay? Brings the formality down slightly, keeping the look from feeling overly rigid. And the waistcoat's bottom button, if you zoom in, you will see it is correctly left undone. And that subtly signals to the audience that Indy has a sartorial knowledge, a knowledge of how to dress well as a man. Another subtle hint that Indy knows how to dress well is the fact that he opted not for a white shirt, that would be the easy go-to for most of us men, but he goes for a cream shirt. And why does that work? Because the cream shirt complements his warm complexion and the earthy tones of the suit without creating such a harsh contrast. Okay, a white shirt would have been very high contrast. This makes him look approachable, yet maintains that intelligent vibe. Now he completes the look with pleated trousers, likely a pair of brown leather Oxfords, and a real academic staple, a brown leather briefcase, okay? He's not wearing a backpack. Now if you're a stickler for details, the tie itself is actually olive green with maroon and beige spots. And of course we have to mention the academic style round glasses that reinforce his intellectual side, and we see that throughout several of the films. Now unfortunately we're all subject to cognitive biases, and the one that is most ingrained is the one that says people who wear glasses are more intelligent. So instead of complaining about it, use it to your advantage. If you hop back and forth between contact lenses and glasses, but maybe you have an event coming up where you want to present yourself as an authority on the subject, make sure your intellect is acknowledged, go for the glasses. Let them do the work for you. Okay, that brings us on to the third film in the franchise, The Last Crusade, set 3 years after Temple of Doom and 2 years after Raiders of the Lost Ark. Though, in reality, it released almost a decade after Raiders. We see Indy back in the classroom again. This time, his outfit is slightly different. He adopts what is arguably his most professorial look yet. And this works perfectly given that Harrison Ford is now approaching 50. I still can't believe he was only 39 in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He looks incredible, okay? But aside from that, Indy, we now see him in a grey three-piece suit. This time he's got vented pockets, okay? Not patch pockets. And the vented pockets are a more formal detail. And he pairs it with a slightly louder pale blue striped shirt and a red and navy spotted bow tie. Now the bow tie, again, this adds to that mature senior academic vibe, distinguishing him from the straight tie look of his earlier teaching scenes in Raiders. Also notice how it looks like a simple mid-grey suit, but when you get a closer inspection, when you get up close to it, there's a subtle stripe to it, and that's quite a nice way to add a bit of visual interest to an outfit. Personally, I think subtle patterns are much more powerful than loud checks and things like that when it comes to suiting. Overall, I quite like this outfit. It reads as fitting for a senior academic rather than a junior lecturer. But it's also formal enough for an important meeting with business associates like we see later in the film. Okay, both of these outfits occupy the very top of the formality scale, though they do it in different ways. The double-breasted navy suit from the Raiders of the Lost Ark ending, this is classic business formal, okay? It's sober, it's powerful, it's conservative. It's the kind of outfit, the exact kind of outfit you'd wear to negotiate with government officials rather than dodging boulders, okay? Take a look at those colours. We've got a crisp white shirt, dark red tie, and a navy double-breasted suit. This is a tried and true power colour combo in business and in politics. We'll see it a lot as well. Navy, that colour gives you sort of a calm authority. Red, on the other hand, gives you the confident assertiveness. So you're going to have that competency and commanding presence combined. Now, double-breasted suit jackets, not exactly common these days, okay? So you will need to be intentional where you use them if you want to pull off a look like this. Notice how we never see Indy in a double-breasted jacket until this scene. He uses this outfit in possibly one of the most formal meetings of his career. Now, whether you're an academic, intellectual, or otherwise, it's pretty unlikely that you're ever going to have to meet up with high-up government officials to discuss what should be done with a paranormal weapon of mass destruction. But that doesn't mean there are no occasions for you to don the double-breasted suit jacket. Personally, I would recommend you take one of these for a spin during a formal occasion, okay? That means most other men need to be suited up at this event, okay? It's a nice way to adhere to the dress code, but elevate it just slightly, one level up, and stand out from the crowd. Maybe if there's a particularly formal academic conference, I know most of these events aren't so formal anymore, maybe a ceremonial occasion at a university, or a formal meeting or dinner, maybe even a wedding. A wedding might actually be perfect for this sort of thing, but have fun with it. Speaking of weddings, the white tuxedo jacket that we see in Temple of Doom is perfect for this kind of occasion because it is classic evening formal wear. It's glamorous and it's confident, straight out of Goldfinger or Casablanca. It's probably one of Indy's most restrictive outfits due to just the nature of when it can be worn. It's designed for that evening event, or a formal evening event, rather than, you wouldn't see this in teaching or at conferences, people probably look at you like you're insane. That said, once again, a wedding is exactly the kind of occasion where you could definitely pull this off and truly make a statement. So folks, thank you very much for watching, and I'd like to hear from you down in the comments below. What are your favorite outfits from the Indiana Jones franchise? And could you see yourself incorporating any of these looks we've talked about today in your day-to-day life? Looking forward to discussing that with you down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.